I love gaming, and I love getting lost in the world of gaming, and I love getting lost in the expanse of the game and the story and the depth of it. But what I do love about gaming, and is a little bit more obscure, is horror stories of video games or weird cultish things or periods that we don't really necessarily know about, but are obscure and uncovered and extraordinarily interesting and intriguing. And today, we're going to be looking at that. And though I love video games, I also love this side of video gaming, which is the mysteries or the files behind the games. And today we're going to be looking at specifically a video game made by a cult and made by a doomsday cult. And in this time, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at it and we're going to be understanding and seeing how propaganda can change and shift an entire type of people into doing something that is disgustingly terrible and disgustingly destructive. And throughout it, we're going to see how one man can change a people group for the worse. I'm Micah Spicinger. This is the Tales We Tell. And today on the Game Files, we look at all right, our story starts with this man, this cult leader. It starts with him, how he came to be who he was, how this despicable leader became who he was. It starts when he grew up. He grew up blind and in a poor family. Not blind, but almost blind. He had everything almost blind except for his right eye. And inside that, he was not a good guy. He was a trash can. He was a bully. He was manipulative. And he was a jerk. He really was. And around 6 years old in Japan, he was sent off to a boarding school. And in this boarding school, it was for the blind kids. And in that boarding school, he was, like I said, he was a bully. He manipulated. He was the only person who could see of the kids. So he would manipulate them, bully them, um, do horrendous things to them. And in that, he would start his dream of becoming a leader of Japan. He wanted to become prime minister. Well, we look to it a little bit further, and we find that this man wasn't really loved. He went through school and then he desired to go and become a lawyer to become prime minister. And he applies for the school of law at Tokyo. And in Tokyo, they rejected him because they didn't like his grades. He didn't have good enough test scores to get into the school of Tokyo. So this man decides, okay, screw them. I am going to be enlightened. He's going to search for his enlightenment. He would start his fraudulent spiritual journey, by opening up a potion shop in Japan, or a traditional Chinese medicine clinic, as he would call it. But it was merely just a potion shop. And in that potion shop, he would make these potions to heal or to have love or whatever out of orange skins. And he would just put them in the potion and he mix it up and he would sell them. Well, during that time, he would be arrested. He would be thrown in prison for a couple of years. And through that, he would search for nirvana. He would go with his searching. And what he did is he searched for nirvana with this group of people. He didn't find it. So he would go after and he would pursue after nirvana in the Himalayas. And what he claimed to happen is he was claimed to be founding enlightenment in nirvana by this weird third eye moment where he started hopping and he got enlightenment in the Himalayas. And by that, he claimed he had reached enlightenment. He had reached nirvana. He would start his own yoga shop, his own yoga studio, which would be the start of the cult. He would start this cult in 1984, roughly around that yoga school. He would start this cult. And just kind of like Joseph Smith and what he did with the golden tablets, whatever you think of that, he started his religion, quote unquote, in with his golden tablets, this man, he would start his religion based upon him finding enlightenment. And through his propaganda and through what he did was he would manipulate a nation. Japan at the time was facing hard coming to grips with how they were going to die. What was the meaning of life? Why were they here? Why did Earth exist? And in that, this man came. He offered purpose. He offered life. He offered something that meant something. And everyone turned their eyes and said, wow, I want a load of him. And what happened was this man wooed a nation. This cult became a religion in Japan. The people that were searching for meaning, searching for life, searching for something that meant something, ended up being swindled, lied to, and manipulated. This manipulator, this serial manipulator, would go on and wreak havoc in this cult. He would practice celibacy and chastity, except for the people who were called in prophetesses for his purpose, and he would do heinous sexual acts to them. He would do things that were unheard of. And to a point, right around 1989, he once again ran for prime minister. And running for prime minister, he and 24 other of his cult leaders would lose drastically. So drastically, in fact, that running for 500,000 people to win a part in parliament for Japanese parliament, he would only get 1,700 votes. 1,700. And this was when the cult took a shift, because he was claiming enlightenment and he was claiming nirvana, but he wasn't claiming the apocalyptic side of this. And then he did. After he lost parliament, after his 24 members lost parliament, he would start his apocalyptic claim. And this apocalyptic claim led to one of the most egregious terrorist attacks in history. This terrorist attack is known as the Japanese subway bombing. It would murder over 14 people and it would injure 6,000. One of the most egregious chemical warfare terrorist attacks that we have ever seen done in the public sphere was done by this man and his cult. Later, he would be charged with the death penalty, and 18 years later, he would be murdered. Not murdered, but he would be killed for the death penalty in Japan's highest court. Now, you might say, Micah, thank goodness it's destroyed, but it's not. And today, the cult is still active. They're still rummaging around, and they're manipulating people and they're ruining people because they believe a lie. They believe something that doesn't mean anything. What they believe is that they believe Armageddon's still going to happen. And we know that as a lie. But people are still being manipulated by this terroristic, terrible cult. But this is more interesting because when we take our story back, we look at the propaganda that was used by this cult. Number one was an anime. And in this anime, it depicts this spiritualistic life of the cult leader, Amu Shikinaro. And in that, he would say that he reached enlightenment. And in the next episode, he would know the cult leader would know what his cult people were doing, what his members were doing. It's disgusting, it's vile, it's manipulative, but it's also just ew. The anime in itself is just disgusting. It's not really good. It's not at all beneficial to watch. I don't recommend watching it. It's interesting, but it's disgusting. One of the things that fascinates me most about this topic is the video game that was made by this cult and by the cult leader. It's actually voiced by the cult leader, and it's talking about how the individual is going to make the cult known in the specific town. It's, if you think of it like this way, think of it like Civilization and um, maybe Valhalla, when you create and you get people to pledge your loyalty. In the same manner, it's just like that. This game says you need to sell his bathwater and blood and etc. like that. But it's very disgusting. It's manipulation tactics that are shown throughout the entirety of the game. Is just it shows the heart behind the cult. And what's creepy is it's right under our nose. When reality hits us with a big explosion and we have to face reality and we have to say, oh, maybe what I perceived as reality wasn't actually reality, that's when we get to understanding. And that's when we find the intriguing things about life. And in this such mannerism, we look and we say, video games and even cults come around and they say, wow, there's connection because this world is crippled. It's in some instances evil, some instances good. But the thing about this is gaming and even a cult come together and they collide. Games can be a medium of happiness. They can be a medium of joy and pondering and thought-provoking action that happens to us and shapes our lives and makes us better people, makes us um, more philosophically sound, makes us more logically based, makes us enjoy life more. But also games can challenge us and they can appall us and they can grip our hearts and they can cry out to the people that bore such agony, such as these people. The climax of this game is the bombing itself. They knew precisely what was happening. They knew precisely what they were going to do and they acted upon it. That's how the game ends. And I say this to you for you to ponder, for you to think, for all of us to think and ponder. What happens when reality and fiction smash together? Because this is what makes us think and ponder and really actually look at our lives and think, huh, maybe I can do something. This game is interesting, it's intriguing, it's creepy. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do smash the like button and leave a like down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much. This has been the Game Files. I'm Micah, your host. And this is the Tales We Tell. Thank you. Have a great day.